Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I would like to thank everybody for coming out today. Going for the third time, I would like to thank everybody for coming out today. Glad that you all are here, even with the threat of inclement weather. But we have some very interesting information for you. I know that you've been waiting to hear about the master plan for the parks, as well as to catch up on what's been going on with 22 and 22. I know you were thinking the mayor gave us this information in February. He hasn't said anything else about it. So I'm curious if he's really working on achieving that goal. Well, tonight I have a chance to be able to share with you all of the work that has gone into it with the staff and myself. One thing that I can promise you before we move into the rest of the presentation, there will not be a 23 and 23. There may be a 3 in 23, but there will not be a 3 in 23. However, to be able to set the mood and to be able to get us in the right frame of mind, I would like to open this up in a word of prayer, and then I'm going to proceed with giving you the guidelines as we proceed through tonight, and then we'll go from there. So you will bow your heads. Oh, gracious God, we thank you for giving us this opportunity to be in this place. I ask that our eyes are open, that we can see, that our ears are in a position that we can hear, and that your spirit allows us to be able to interpret the information that is going forward in a very positive way. We thank you for being the God that you are, for you are faithful, you are true, you are just, and you are loved. And as we present for our citizens today, my prayer is that all of the questions will come bathed in love, giving the information that is needed to help to develop a plan that is very inclusive, that is very diverse, and that it represents the city of Irondale well. So we just ask that you will be with us and guide us through this process, and we will lean on your wisdom, your knowledge and understanding as we move forward. I offer up these things in your son's name, and let everyone say amen. All right. I should have had somebody to adjust this microphone for me before we're ready to get started, so I'll just take it out. But this is tonight's agenda. We're going to cover the park master plan. We're going to give you an update. We're going to have a Q&A. It's going to be performed by McNally Land Design. We have with us tonight Miss Leanne. That's what I call her. I don't go by McNally Land Designs. And she has a counterpart here with her, Emily. They've really done an outstanding job pulling all of this information together. I've met with them twice. I went to their firm on 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then yesterday I had a chance to be able to go through the information as they've been able to pull everything together. So you're going to be very pleased when they begin to share with you your responses to the questions that you were asked in the surveys. They're going to give you a brief update on Ellard Park, and then we're going to have it open for Q&A. Now they're going to be up for about an hour. That's what they asked for their presentation. Then after they complete going through the park master plan, I'm going to come, and my goal is to be able to do 22 in 22 in 22. I want to talk about 22 things that happen in 22 in 22 minutes, which means their hour plus my 22 minutes means that around 7:30 we should be leaving this place. However, if it prolongs itself because you all are asking such exciting questions, I will be here until 8. But we will cut off at 8 because I have to go home and see the Thursday night football game on Amazon Prime. So we want to make sure that we keep our priorities straight. But no, I'll be here to be able to answer any questions that you all may have about what's going on with those two things tonight. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Leanne.
I can do both things at once because I think that mic is definitely too tall for me. So as the mayor said, I'm Leanne McNally with McNally Land Design, and my associate Emily West is here, and she is capturing all notes and everything that we need to take tonight. So we may take an hour. We do have a lot of information to report out, and then we have time built within that hour that we want to make sure that we get more feedback to make sure that we are on the right track for this project. So, but for those of you, hopefully you're all familiar with this project, and it's been one of those tasks that was identified in the 22 and 22, and actually prior to that in the comp plan most recently, and then in the previous comp plan. So it's one of those things that the community has been looking for a while now, and we are honored to be able to work with the city to kind of get us to this point. Thank you. This will hopefully allow me to move around a little bit. But what this process is we are looking at the city comprehensively for your park and recreation needs and your green space needs. And so we have been looking at, prior to some of the information that I'm going to report out tonight, what we've been working on since we came under contract with the city is to visit all of the existing, identified city parks, which you have approximately 40 acres of dedicated parkland within the city right now. And then we've been looking at what is regionally, what do your neighbors have, what does everybody want? And we've been matching that up with the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, which was just updated and released earlier this year, which was a statewide study of recreational wants and needs and what economic development opportunities there are and health opportunities there are with those recreation needs in the state. And then we also use national data as we're developing a park plan. So we use data that's pulled from the National Park and Recreation Association, which is kind of the be-all, end-all nationally that identifies, what are the up-and-coming trends, what are the lasting trends, what do you need operationally to, build these infrastructure pieces for your communities and then also maintain those long-term so that you're making wise use of your limited investment dollars, but providing maximum benefit to your community. So prior to all that, pulling all that information together, we then felt it very important to develop a pretty extensive community engagement process, and that's the information that we want to report out tonight. So we started, I think we were, a few months ago, we came to city council meeting. We advertised that we would be kicking off the master plan process publicly at the I Love Irondale Day. And so we've had that one in-person event where our team was there and we were able to get a lot of great feedback from the community. And then we kicked off a 6-week online survey. And so we have the survey information from the in-person meeting and the online survey that we're going to let you know, here's what we heard. And then when we get to the Q&A session, we want to get some feedback from those here tonight. Are we on the right track? And then we'll give you some next steps about where we're going to go from there. So if that kind of gives you an overview of what's been done today. So let's see. Okay, and this is a little bit of what I've talked about. It's the purpose and everything of what this project is, and then what all we have been doing. And so for those of you that were at the I Love Irondale Day, this is, I know it's small right here for what you see, but these are the few pieces that we presented at I Love Irondale Day. So one piece, which is kind of the low-hanging fruit, is in the bottom left corner or bottom right corner of that image. You'll see that color rendered plan is the proposal for the dog park at Ellard Park. That is was an early identified project that the city wanted to do that has a lot of interested stakeholders. And so we have been working on that plan. That plan is kind of starting its final reviews with the city, and we're phasing that plan out. So we hope to go to bid with that project before the end of the year. And then we're building those, pieces into the master plan process. The other two images you see in the top right and in the bottom left, the top right is an overall city plan, and it identifies the existing green spaces. And then one of the things that the city has been working on that I'll talk after we get through the survey information is acquisitions. Because land has the potential is limited for other needs, but is perfect for recreation needs. And then what should go on that land. And one of the great things, and you'll see this in the survey, that the city of Irondale has is your access to your natural resources, and those as recreational amenities. Having the adjacency and access to Ruffner Mountain and the Cahaba River, and that came out in everything we heard at the in-person and online in the survey. So the bottom left, that has all the little images, these are character images, we call them, is what do you want? It shows amenities such as multi-purpose fields for soccer or flag football, or multi-purpose courts, whether it's tennis courts or pickleball. And there's two sides to that story right there. There's some definitely proponents of both. And then recreational or hiking or pavilions or shade is just, the simple things. And so we took a poll. We had a dot process during the public engagement day. That you can see here, we had great turnout for Olive Irondale Day. I think we were supposed to have like a 4 or 5 hour event. That was abbreviated because we had a storm moving in. And we still had a huge amount of participation with the DOT system. And so it was not only, all age groups. So we got a lot of input from the younger kids. They had a chance to put their dots in what they wanted to. And you can kind of guess that was playgrounds and, any water element they loved. But we had, from that, we heard that the priority amenities from the in-person survey were community gathering spaces. Irondale is really, loves to get together as a community. Y'all have a lot of events around that, and that kind of showed in everything that we heard. Also playgrounds. Playgrounds was a big want and need, not only from the kids saying that, but the parents of kids and then the grandparents. Even if their grandkids don't live here, they're like, when our grandkids come, we want a place locally to take them. In addition to that, water play, walking and hiking trails, multi-use spaces, and then indoor recreation opportunities. And so these were some of the things that we heard about the in-person survey. And then next, we just have some more pictures of that day. Everybody showed up. Everybody showed with their dogs. Everybody was in their best behavior. And these are just some comments that were shared. So we had an opportunity for people to just give us their thoughts and sit down at a table and write out, some of their priorities, things that were important to them. So we just pulled out a snippet of the ones that were shared that day that, we can't wait for the dog park. People were very excited to see the dog park plans. Need playgrounds, but they were looking at opportunities for additional recreational amenities. So you have the Cahaba River. It is a great paddling river, but they don't have the equipment. So they were looking at opportunities for local businesses or the city or somebody to supply that equipment so that it could be rented and you can then use that amenity. So great feedback at the in-person event. And like I said, that day we kicked off, we had a QR code up and it was an online survey that we'll get to now. We had promoted that, and I will just have to say that for a city the size of Irondale, we had 527 respondents to the online survey. Y'all knocked it out of the ballpark in comparison to most other cities that we have ever worked with, about people that care enough to go online, spend the time to answer the questions, and not only the check the box questions, but we had 2 open-ended questions, and over 70% of the respondents took time to sit down and share their thoughts in those open-ended questions. And that is great information for us because it lets us know, one, is this community cares about this project, you want this project, you want these spaces, and then it gives us the information to identify what the next steps should be so that you get what you need in a very a strong method so that you know that your dollars are being spent wisely and you start to build up that resource that you have. So kudos to all of y'all. This was amazing, very exciting for us to watch those numbers come in, especially after the city did a promotion and a bump. We could see the numbers tick up. So thank you very much. So what we heard. The first question is we wanted to find out our demographics. The first few questions is we were just making sure that we were hearing from the people that we needed to. So we wanted to know, first off, who lives in the city of Irondale. And of this, we had almost 80% of the respondents live in the city of Irondale. Those that don't live in the city of Irondale, we matched that up to their open-ended questions. And they're like, we're there all the time. We pass through there. It's close to us. So yes, we want to come to Irondale, enjoy the recreational amenities, and spend our money at the restaurants and the shops and things like that while we're there. So that's, a tie-in of not only providing your citizens an amenity, but how you can develop that economic base. So great feedback. We started, highly engaged local community, and then great interest and support from neighbors as well. The next is a demographic. We wanted to just make sure that we were reaching all age groups. And usually we see one end of the spectrum or another when we do online surveys with age groups. And this is one where we had a very even distribution of age groups. And I'll have to say the city of Irondale is the first in a long time where we had somebody under 18 that did respond to the survey and gave a lot of great feedback in their open-ended questions when we matched that up as well. So this shows us that we're hearing from the demographics, we're hearing from the younger singles, we're hearing from those, a little bit older, whether they're single or they have families at home, and then just our different age groups and demographics. So great representation that we were able to get across the board. And then this one is how many people currently live in your household. From the respondents in the survey, we could tell, just matched it up to, we have those that have a lot of people living in their household. And some of the households were like, we have numerous, in our 40s and 50s, and maybe our parents live with us, or our mother lives with us, and we also have kids. And so it just shows us that these households are talking and they want recreational amenities where they can go and do things together. So you don't want to divide and have everybody separated. The feedback is showing us is they wanted parks and recreation developed with blended opportunities for age groups. All right. So this is a telling one. And I think this also lines up with the feedback that was in the comp plan and things that the city has heard is how do you access your park and recreations? And a vast majority of citizens get in a car and have to drive. And that's probably one of the most frustrating things is not having a neighborhood park or a place where you can walk to for a brief, walk around. You have to get in your car and drive somewhere to a destination. And it's just that, connectivity. So one of the pieces with this is that, and we did talk a little bit about this at the I Love Irondale Day, is we're looking at all of these, bubbles throughout the city and where you have green spaces and where you don't have green spaces within your walkable neighborhoods and 10-minute walking radiuses. But the Freshwater Land Trust has been updating the Red Rock Ridge and Valley Trail System. They have just released their kind of updated 11 priority corridors, and 3 of those priority corridors, which are multi-purpose trails and improved sidewalks for walking and biking, connect and come through the city of Irondale. So because of the work that y'all have invested in the comp plan and looking at future green spaces and destinations, this is one that I think this is what we see now, but I think in the next few years with partnerships that this is going to drastically change. And I think that is a very exciting opportunity for the city. Let's see. Okay, typical travel distance. This is just a general, understanding of how far do you want to travel for your recreational opportunities? And people, travel, under 30 miles is where most people travel. They want to be able to get to somewhere in under 30 miles, especially if it's local or if they want to drive a little bit further. And so if you look at your local community, they want neighborhood parks, but then also when people are willing to drive 10, 15, 30 miles, your opportunity for capturing a whole demographic and bringing them into the city of Irondale is extremely large when you look at the population beyond that. And we're running the numbers on the circles that you see. We're running the population numbers that, we can get out to Oxford and we can get out to the other side of Birmingham to Bessemer, and people are willing to drive in. And if you can pull those economic dollars into your community, that can help support these types of recreational amenities. And then there's just a strong desire for outdoor recreation. People are willing to get there. So this is one where we started getting it really more localized to the city and what you want to see. And, how often do you visit the parks and green spaces in the city of Irondale? And the vast majority of people said occasionally. And the feedback that we got on this is because there's just not the amenities there. And so it's like, yes, there's a demand. We want these places. We don't have them locally right now. And so that's the purpose of this plan, right? This is to get us there. So this is, I don't want to stay on that one too long because we know that. That's why the plan is being done. So, we wanted to understand the barriers to utilizing the city's current playgrounds. And these were, I think pretty basic. People want, access. They want good quality facilities. They want programs that go along with those facilities. So not just build it and they will come, but programming that actually activates those spaces is important. And then they want them safe and they want them clean. So pretty common sense, but pretty, indicative of what the community wants and that is very achievable. For if we make the right plan, these things are all achievable. Okay. So what is it that you want? The fun question. This is that dots on a board. The dream big is what we were asking everybody to do. We pulled a list. You'll see that we had about 20 recreational activities identified up here, or amenities such as trails and things like that. And kind of the programs and facilities that people identified is walking trails, just simple, places to get out and walk and hike was, the number one kind of vote getter, not only at our in-person event, but at the online survey. And then gathering places such as outdoor concert areas, big lawn event spaces that could also be used for pickup flag football games or frisbee or anything like that. Picnic and grills, swimming, water sports, biking. And so I'm not going to go through all the numbers here, but it was just very telling that, you want places together, and then you also want places just to go out and do simple recreation and to access nature. And so we got a really good, it was about even. So the rest of them that you see without the percentages there, those are all within like the 15 to 20% range. So a variety of recreational needs would be enjoyed by the community. And then we asked for, tell us what we're missing. This had an open-ended question. And so we got some driving ranges down through there. We got some, bike race course areas, the indoor climbing, some viewable gardens like art gardens and having art in the park. That was one of the comments that, we want these to have, walking spaces, but we would like to see nice things and vegetation and art as we walk along as well. So this list we are comparing with, what do your neighbors have? What amenities are they investing in? Where are we going to spend our dollars to make sure that you meet your, high wants and needs of the community? And then also what would attract, what is missing from around you so that you can pull in people that says, well, my neighbor and, I live in this city and they don't have this, but Irondale has this. So I think we're going to move there. And that is one of the things that, we have an opportunity to identify in this project. All right. It was a rating. So tell us about, you want all these things. So kind of tell us where things rate. And it was nature-based recreation and then the community gathering areas and then the active play spaces such as parks and multipurpose fields. That was the heavy feedback. It was not a whole lot of people saying, we have to have this mountain bike course. We have to have this baseball field. We have to have, this one amenity. It was kind of the broader feedback that we heard. And then it, still importance, but those were kind of the priority areas. So we're going to take this feedback as we start to look at providing everything, but making the recommendations about what should happen first, what can get you the biggest bang for your buck, and then also support future growth of all your other elements as well. Question number 10. This was just starting to visualize, tell us the places that inspire you. So we know locally what you want us to celebrate as we start to come up with an identity and a brand for the Irondale Park system, and what we need to protect and make sure that that's written into this master plan about what you want to protect, and what places elsewhere inspire you, like what draws you other places, so that we can look at what is appropriate for the city that will draw other people here. So these are just some visual images, Ruffner Mountain, Cahaba River, and the gatherings and everything at Beacon Park were locally celebrated throughout. And then we had, very telling that Oak Mountain State Park and Red Mountain Park, those nature-based recreation opportunities that are nearby, those are the places that people love. That's, they'll drive to the other side of town to go visit those. So what can we do to provide more access to your natural resource areas in the city of Irondale that keeps them here and then brings other people here? All right. This started our open-ended questions, so we just wanted to share with y'all some words from your own fellow citizens of what they shared with us when we asked them to please share any thoughts or wishes you have for the parks and green spaces of the city of Irondale. We had some recurring themes: safety, accessibility, connectivity, shade, walkable, clean. That's all achievable goals. And that's all, that's really, the community is like, meet these, and then I would love to see more bike lanes. I would like to see more hiking along the Cahaba River. It's like we have some, we want more. And so you can hopefully see these, and we'll be sharing this information out again so you can see it a little bit better. But the top request of having those connectivity elements for the cycling, the walking, the biking, the hiking was a huge theme throughout the survey. And then, more of those is, wanting places that are pedestrian and elder friendly, having a good karaoke nightclub. These were we get random thoughts in here too. So we thought we would put, a few of those out there. We can tell, there's a certain demographic. We want good shopping next to the park. So I think that was one of them that we didn't put up there. But, we get all kind of feedback. So all of these comments and thoughts that are shared are not going to be lost. So this is information, even if it doesn't directly relate to the park we're doing, that is being shared with the city. So y'all can say, oh, hey, there was a question about water or trash or something. And maybe it relates to the park, but maybe it relates to the community as a whole. So the feedback will not go to waste. This is very valuable comments. Okay. Now we're going to get to what do we do with all this information? So reporting out, you've heard, okay, we have the opportunity for everything. We want everything. Where does it go, and how do we do that? That's what we're working on now. So we have been looking citywide, as this is one of the maps that we had at the public meeting. And then we are refining this because since the public meeting, the city has been going through some acquisitions. And so that is a great thing to celebrate. This next slide will give us a little bit better idea of the importance of that. So top line is existing green space is the city currently has dedicated park areas is a little over 40 acres. And then the recommended green space per population from the National Recreation and Park Association is we should be at about 140 acres. So we're about a third of what is recommended for the population size of your city currently. Well, what's being done to kind of get us there is the city had opportunities to purchase some pretty amazing land acquisitions. So the pictures that you see up here is from one of the new acquisitions of the Holt property along 78, right along the Cahaba River, has a lot of Cahaba River access, has utilities to the site, great recreational opportunities. So this was about 106 acres that was recently purchased by the city. So we're starting to look at what programming that you want is appropriate for that site that protects those natural resources and kind of starts to check some of those boxes about the wants and needs of the community. So with the total recent acquisitions, and not all of this property is going to be used for recreation. The city has some other plans for other pieces of it. So we looked at those acquisitions and, we're looking at, hey, if we can get 116 acres of recreational land added to this, then we are, sitting right in that level of where we need to be. And this is a long range plan. So keep in mind, this is not something that needs to happen overnight or should happen overnight, but having the land available and secured. And then we're looking at how that relates to our walkable communities and back to having neighborhood parks and connectivity and having easy access from your community. So we're taking all of those things and we're looking at that map and we're looking at these numbers and we're going to make sure that the programming is spread out over the city. So that is really, kind of telling that's our next steps, is taking all of that data. And so when we come back to report out next time, we will have more maps and more conceptual program plans for what should happen, what we're recommending happen on each of the properties and each of the park spaces. And we'll be taking more input from the community to say, yeah, we're on the right track. That feels good. And this is a plan that's worth adopting, or here's some tweaks. We recommend this, or no, that should actually be on this side of the city because that's where that population is and wants that. So we are working in that draft program for all the parks and green spaces. We'll be illustrating that in plans, and then we'll also be developing kind of that park identity so that when citizens are driving through the city, when anyone is driving through the city of Irondale and they see a certain wayfinding sign, they're like, oh, that's an Irondale park. We know that's a great park. And, making sure that we have the, and Emily's reminding me to make sure I don't forget to say something. And so, to make sure that we have that brand identity. And I think there's other plans in place for how the city of Irondale celebrates your unique identity, not only in the park system, but just throughout the city and marketing wise as well. So that is what we've been working on. That is where we stand today. The Ellard Park, as Emily was reminding me, I think I mentioned this, we do hope to have that go to bid by the end of the year. We are in, as I know everybody's familiar with, we're in this really volatile kind of construction market right now. So the way we've built the plans is that we have is something that can be built in phases, easily owned, so that you get the priority of the dog park, but it has opportunities to add some elements to that can be built out as funds become available. But you have the drawings and design of those when we go to bid, and we can get that costed out. So I think that is everything. And with that, I will be happy to open it up to questions. Yes, sir.
Holt property, Highway 78 runs east and west.
Mm-hmm.
Crosses the Cahaba River. Which corner is this property?
It is north of Highway 78. So if you know where Moon River Landing is at the Freshwater Land Trust, it's the gravel lot just to the south. Yeah, the Moon River Landing is to the south, and this property is to the north, right along the river.
This side, before you cross.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait, right on the other side of the bridge. Yeah, on the other side of the bridge, yeah. So it is on the east side of the Cahaba River, north of 78.
Second quick question, same related, go this
Yeah.
river to where Grants Mill Road crosses. I've stopped there and walked down the ramp to that trail, and that's a good start. I've been to the very end.
Right.
So don't go past this point. But my only comment would be, look at the access to get from up there down. That concrete ramp is not a safe way to get down there. It's scary. I'll just say that.
Noted. Thank you.
The
Yes,
whole
ma'am.
property, does it
Yes.
include the old, abandoned, I think it was it's a bridge, and I think it was probably for the train?
It does, the bridge accesses the property, but we don't have the records to show who owns the bridge yet. So that is one of the things with the recent acquisition that we're waiting to get. So, because it does access it from that northwest corner.
It'd be a great amenity there and wildlife corridor.
Great point. Great point. All right. Okay, for the next steps, with kind of coming up on the end of the year, right after the first of the year, we hope to be back with plans and recommended programming for a larger public meeting that we can have those face-to-face conversations and another dot system and comments and things like that for feedback. Yes, sir, Counselor.
Does this, and I don't know that the deal was completed at the time, but does this include the 10 acres at the Heritage subdivision, which is in Osmond Park?
The one across from Jefferson Christian Academy? It does. And so we were actually out at that site this past Friday looking at the opportunities for that site.
We're currently working with a contractor for Rockland Park design.
Yes.
Have you all been in contact with them and how that fits in with the master plan?
Yeah, we have been talking with the mayor, so we know the plans and the programming for Ruffner Park so that we're not unnecessarily duplicating that. That's going to be built into the master plan. Yes. Any other thoughts, comments, feedback? Do you feel like we're on the right track? Getting the information? Okay. Great. So feel free to share or tell us if we're off track. That's what we need to know.
Property as well.
Yes, the Zamora property we're looking at, and there's some property adjacent to the Zamora. We're looking at all of that as far as feasibility of what should be recreation space and what has an opportunity for other city amenities or other types of development. So we're going to make sure we don't just assume that a land that is acquired by the city should all be recreation. That may not be economically feasible, and it may have a higher and better use that can serve the community, but we are looking at that property. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a pool person. Is there any chance that, and I just think and a lot of people think that an indoor pool would be just like too expensive, but if you're gonna dig a hole, putting a cover on it and being able to use it year round would be wonderful. I'm just wondering, and I've heard just that the hole is the expensive part, but anyway, is there any chance?
Okay, so the feedback that we have received, we're basing this all on the feedback and then kind of balancing that with what you just mentioned, the cost to implement and the cost to operate and maintain. And so it is one of those desired amenities, water, whether it be splash pads or pools or indoor pools or just river access even. All of that was comment and feedback. So now we're going to start to look at, do we have the place that it makes sense, or what type, maybe there's some type of larger community facility that makes sense, and explore that. But then where that occurs on the low-hanging fruit versus the long-term fruit, the data will be captured, and then we've just got to see where it falls within there. And then when we come back out at the next meeting, we'll be making recommendations about where those types of amenities fall. There's the pool and there's some other things that kind of fall within that. They cost more. They have a limited, it's not as easily accessible as walking trails. Not everybody swims, and most everybody kind of uses the walking trails, and then it operates and maintains. So where it falls, we'll be making those recommendations about where it falls in the action items and see if we're on the right track. And then, of course, give that information to the city. At the end of this, where we're going with the master plan is to give you a living document that is a good roadmap about what the next steps for investment and implementation should be for the city. And so that the city leadership and the citizens can make the decision about, where you invest your dollars. And so, like I said, it's a living document. It's one of those things that when we pass it over to the city and the Park and Recreation board adopts that plan, that's where it is at that point in time. There may be other factors that flip a switch and something may move up the list or down the list, whether funding becomes available or you have donor partnerships. That is the purpose of a living document, is that over the next 5 to 10 years that you start checking things off the box and it needs to be revisited. And so what I'm saying is don't get discouraged if we come back and we say, hey, this is a kind of a lower priority for right now. It doesn't mean that it can't move up later on. So I know that was kind of more information than you probably asked, but the pool and the water stuff is something that we are looking at for opportunities. Questions, comments? Well, thank you all so much. We have enjoyed hearing from the community and kind of reading your thoughts and getting to talk with you. And we look forward to doing that more as we're starting to, move through the process. So thank you very much.
Frank, I thought I was gonna have to call you to help me out. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Is that high enough? Okay, I'd like to thank Leanne before she walks out the door for her presentation. She and Emily, I know that they have been working very hard on being able to get this information to us. And again, we just want to thank you for all the work that you do and allowing the citizens to be able to see exactly what we are trying to do here at the City of Irondale to make sure that we become a recreational oasis, to make sure that we become the envy of other communities where everybody wants to come to Irondale because Irondale is cool, but we also got all the recreational things that our citizens have requested through the survey. So thank you all again. Okay. All right. Well, we got through a little bit early, so we may get out even earlier than I projected. But in February of 22, I had this crazy idea when I gave the state of the city to tell everyone that I was going to do 22 items in 22. It sounds crazy to be able to try to do so many things in 1 year, but I'm a firm believer that you should try to do things that are so big that it's not dependent on you being able to make those things happen, but it's because you have to be able to bring others in to make it take place. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go through those 22 items. I'm going to give you an update on where we are with them. And then I'm going to give you an opportunity to be able to ask me some questions about them as well. So if you look at the first two items here, it was future land use. And we wanted to encourage redevelopment in existing commercial areas. When I ran for office, one of the things I wanted to do is to move City Hall to Grants Mills Station. Well, I can tell you now that's not going to happen because it's been purchased by another developer that specializes in mixed-use properties, or multifamily properties. But it still is going to be revitalized and it's going to be redeveloped. They're going through the process and they are of actually just analyzing the opportunities that they have there with the current people that are there, as well as to determine where they want to be able to go with it long range. It was purchased by Louis Moran and Robert Crook in December of 2021. So they have some plans. They've come and they've shared those plans with me, but they're still working through some things. So we are working towards revitalizing and redeveloping Grants Mills Station. The second thing was to revitalize properties along Crestwood Boulevard in the U.S. Corridor 78. And we are in the process of doing that about 3 or 4 months ago, the city received an Apple study from the Regional Planning Commission. That was $60,000. The city only had to put $12,000 in to be able to make it happen. The other $48,000 was covered by the grant. We've met several times, and we are in talks about how can we revitalize the properties along Crestwood Boulevard. What can we do to make it more aesthetically pleasing? What can we do to be able to attract more commercial opportunities to the area? The study is going to begin at the landmark. My landmark for where the city starts is under the highway. So when people say, where's the city of Irondale? I say it starts up under the highway, and this study is going to go from under the highway up to John Rogers. But we're in the midst of our second meeting talking about how we're going to be able to proceed with that. This was a very big section here, livability and code reform. The goal was to make sure that our city is well kept, to make sure that it's clean, to make sure that landlords are taking care of their properties, to be able to address some of the things that I just talked about, knowing when you're in the city of Irondale, knowing what the signage looks like in the city of Irondale, creating a ordinance for individuals that have vacant property in the city. So we would have a register going forward to know what property is being rented, what pieces of property are empty. So the first thing we wanted to do is to be able to create what was called a good landlord program. They do not have any of those programs in the state of Alabama. I believe that it was stolen for the state of Utah, because when I began to do some research on it, everything fell into the city of Utah. I had a chance to be able to talk to our city attorneys. And after talking to our wonderful city attorneys, we realized that the good landlord program in the state of Alabama conflicts with the landlord-tenant law. Therefore, we're not going to be able to do a program, but we are going to be able to implement some things where we will bring tenants and landlords in and to be able to provide them with education of being a good landlord in the city of Irondale, as well as what does it mean to be a good tenant. We've adopted the 2021 International Property Code. One of the outstanding things about this is that it has a very strong fine component to it. So we're going to make sure that people keep up their properties. I know that Greg was here, he just left, but what we've done is to make sure, initially we had the building inspectors doing everything. I mean, they were doing buildings, they were doing weeds, they were doing abandoned cars, but we've now have 2 police officers that are doing code enforcement, which now allows our building inspectors to concentrate on issues with individuals keeping their properties up. So we're going to make sure and we have things in place to be able to do that. The next thing is to be able to create a guide to let you all know, number one, what are the codes that are being broken? And then when those codes are being broken, what can you do to contact City Hall to let us know what's going on? Now, does anybody want to take a stab at what are the 3 major code violations in the city of Irondale? Y'all don't all have to scream out at the same time. Weeds is 1. Abandoned vehicles is 2. And the demolition of abandoned homes are 3. So we're going to put together a brochure that outlines, when you see those things, how can you report them, whether the process, how long does it take for those things to be abated. That is one of the things that I have not done so far. So we won't check the box on that at the present time, but I assure you by December 31st, 2022, it will be completed by then. We're also working on creating a vacant property registration ordinance, and I truly believe that one's going to be on the agenda Tuesday, where we're going to make people register their properties when they are empty, so we'll know where the empty properties are, but also the individuals that own it. developing a citywide sign replacement program and the developing a citywide wayfinding signage system. That's actually going to be done by McNally. And they were commissioned to do this by the Commercial Development Authority. They are currently working on cleaning up the ordinances that we have here at the city. But then their second and their third goal is to be able to help us to be able to develop a signage replacement system, but also to be able to have the pretty nice wayfinding signage system. So when you come downtown, we'll be able to point you to where the Whistle Stop Cafe is, how to be able to get to Ruffton Mountain. Where's City Hall? I mean, right now, you just ride down here, you come across the tracks, and the only thing you do is you see a great building and you figure out maybe that's City Hall, and people come in and be able to ask us. But we want to be able to put signage outside with arrows pointing in the right direction to let people know where they are headed in the city of Irondale. So that is something that is underway. Clearly defining the gateways, that is also something that I want to thank the CDA for taking the lead and wanted to do some things to be able to beautify the city. They have a proposal to be able to do that as well, but they are trying to get the ordinances completed first so that everything can be tied neatly together. So as soon as we finish the ordinances, we're moving to the second proposal, which is going to deal with the sign replacement and also being able to do the wayfind system. But most of all, we want to be able to beautify our gateways. There are certain places that you go in the city and you're going in and out of the city and you don't even know that you're going in and out of the city. We currently have different signs depending on where you are to let you know if you're going in and out of the city. But I'll discuss that later because that will come up under the branding proposal that we're working on to make sure that all of our signs are consistent, our logos are consistent, even our stationery and business cards. Everything is going to be consistent. It's going to be a very clear message that is going to go forward. And we're also going to work on improving our website at the same time. So we're getting ready to do an overhaul of how the city of Irondale look. And the city's going to be looking fantastic. And we're going to be a very cool place to live. The next one is to establish an Irondale Beautification Coalition. If there's anybody out there in the audience that wants to take the lead on that before December 31st, 2022, just make sure you give me a call to come to City Hall. We don't have anybody working on that. We do not have that in progress at the time that I'm presenting this information to you. Out of the last Citizen Engagement Institute, the class that we had, I did have a gentleman to come up to me and said that he would like to be a part of it, and I began to treat him like a pastor. You know, when you're in the church, people are good to be able to bring you ideas, but they always want to be able to put it off on somebody else. So when he brought the idea to me, I told him, guess what? You would be a perfect person to be able to lead this program. But we're looking for individuals that would like to be a part of the Irondale Beautification Coalition to be able to keep Irondale beautiful. And then the last thing we want to do is to modify the sign regulations to ensure content neutrality. What that means that there was a lawsuit that was filed in 2015 that said that cities can no longer regulate signs by their content, but you have to regulate the sign by size, the type. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get away or to have something in place to help people to understand what is a content-based sign versus what is one that deals with the design of the sign. So that's what that means when you see that to modify our sign regulations. At the present time, we do not have that language that we need that was a part of that lawsuit to help people to understand the difference between content-based and content neutrality. Transportation and mobility, we had 3 items. The first one was to be able to dedicate funding to implement our ADA transition plan. We set aside $300,000 to be able to do that this year. We're still waiting on the state of Alabama. It's going to use those funds. Those are going to be the matching funds for the sidewalk grant that we received from AlDOT, which is $860,000, Frank. Is that pretty accurate to be able to do that? So we have the money in place and we are ready to move forward to be able to put everything out to bid, but we still have to navigate through AlDOT to be able to make that happen. We will update our transportation plan, and if you were here in July, we went through the roads that were going to be included in being restored, repaved, rehabilitated, crack sealed, and we listed those roads, and I think we're close to maybe, we don't know how much it's going to be when we put it out to bid. The engineers projected that it would be close to around $2 million. So we did $2 million the year before. We're getting ready to do another $2 million this year. We're going to wait till around January to be able to put it out to bid. That'll give us about 30 days to receive the bids, and then probably another 30 to 60 days for them to mobilize and to be able to get started with the process. The reason that we want to do that, because this time we want to make sure that they're paving in the springtime and they're not doing a lot of paving in the wintertime. It seems to make a difference what season you pave in. So we want to make sure that we push that to the springtime, and we'll be having another meeting in July to unveil what's going to be phase 3 as we move forward in 2023. And then number 13, we've already set aside money in our annual budget to be able to do the paving, because all of the paving that's going to be done in 2022, we're not going to have to borrow any money to be able to complete this $2 million project. So the funds are budgeted for the pavement management plan. Leanne did a fabulous job about talking about the recreation and green spaces that we have here in the city. She just gave you all an update on the master plan for the parks. And then inside of that master plan is also a component to deal with the playground equipment at the city parks as well. So we didn't want to move forward to be able to do something, and we still are receiving feedback from the citizens to know how we want or how we need to be able to move forward with that. But I can tell you right now, I've seen a conceptual drawing for Ruffner Mountain. And Miss Jackie, there are 2 playgrounds in Ruffner Mountain. I mean, the Ruffner Park, and we are. And Frank, you can vouch for me, right? So Frank can vouch for me that those things are there. We are probably 3 to 6 months before we go out to bid with the park, but we will bring it to everybody and let you all get a chance to be able to give us some feedback on your thoughts about that as well. And then we're making improvements at Ruffner, Beacon, and Ellert. One of the things that we're doing at Beacon, Councilman London wanted a new track at Beacon Park. He brought it to my attention. I reached out to the county commissioners, and they told me that I was going to ask them for about $20,000 to be able to do the track. And that was Commissioner Knight. And he told me no. He said, I'm going to put you in contact with the Jefferson County Health Department. So when I talked to the gentleman at the health department, he told me that if I get 3 quotes, get him those 3 quotes, and the health department would pay for the new track. It worked out better than getting the $20,000 than calling Jefferson County to be able to get the new track. So for all of you all in Holiday Gardens and Beacon Park, I just received the engineering GMC just put together the specs for the track, and we're looking at probably spending anywhere from $102,000 to $120,000. But it's going to be a first-class rubberized track, Marvin. So you no longer will have to walk on asphalt and concrete. So I want to thank like I said, Councilman London, and that's also Councilman Sam's district there. So your people are going to be proud of you all when you cut the ribbon on that new track up there at Beacon Park. But now we're getting ready to get some bids, and as soon as I get those bids, I'm going to get with the individual at the health department, and he will go through them and then determine when that is going to happen. Hopefully, Marvin, it'll happen before, would you say spring? Hopefully take about spring. I've already gone up there with the engineers and they've checked everything out. So we're looking forward to that. And then, like I said, with Eller Park, we're looking with going out to bid with the new dog park by the end of the year, by the first of the year. And it has all of the things that has been requested. And one of the things I know that's real big for dog park people is shade. So there are a lot of trees, and we're also, there's washing stations, there's a pavilion that's going to be up there. So this is going to be a first-rate facility, and we're going to be the envy of Jefferson County, and people are going to want to come here to bring their dogs to hang out in the city of Irondale. And this brings me to the last 22 items, or the last 17 through 22. Now, I want to score 100 this year, and I'm okay with that because we will not accomplish number 17. We will not be able to start a Main Street organization because we missed the mandatory meeting in January to be able to file an application this year. But we had everything in place, the grant writer, talked to the people that was a part of Main Street, and they were looking forward to working with the city because Main Street is their headquarters is on Montclair Road. So they really wanted to be able to work with the city that was so close to them. But we will not be able to accomplish that this year. But based on the technicality, I didn't put this out there until February the 10th. I should receive some grace or a mulligan for this one because I put out the 22 after the deadline. So you all, when you all get ready to critique me or criticize me in December, you all put an asterisk by that one and give me a third of a point, half of a point, something like that. But I won't be able to get to 100. But as Hezekiah Walker would say in one of his gospel songs, I'm trying to strive to get to 100, but in this case, 99 will do. So the second thing is I'm sorry, I don't need to hit that. Let me go back. Okay, number 18 is working to promote the city of Irondale as an automotive hub. That's one that we haven't really done a lot of work on as well, so you can, I will not check that one off. I've talked to all of the dealers over there, and I've given them this crazy concept about creating a auto mall, and that instead of all the individual dealerships doing their own thing, that they could come together and create a auto mall with one website that promotes not only their brand, but it promotes all of the other brands. That was kind of like a hard sell to get Mercedes to say I'm with Lexus, or to get BMW to say that I'm with Range Rover. But we still have that wild dream in top of my head that I believe that will happen. But we will figure out a way from the city that we will be able to put together a marketing plan where we can promote all of the dealerships, because the dealerships are one of the biggest revenue generators for the city, and we want to make sure that we keep that revenue coming in. Number 19, to incentivize, recruit bring in more commercial and retail development throughout the city. I can't talk in detail about number 19, but I can tell you that the city has the potential in 2023 to bring in $180 million of new development. And I'll just leave it at that. Number 20, Graham and Company is working on creating a database for the city, so we'll know where every vacant piece of property that is retail, that is industrial, we'll know their size, the pricing, we'll know everything about those pieces of property, because I happen to be the first contact when somebody calls to the city for economic development. I don't have a database that when people call and say, hey, I'm looking for something that's 15,000 square feet, A rent, A condition, having the utilities at home. I don't have that information with me. So when they call, I have to say, well, let me get back with you. Well, I have to gather as much information as I can from them to be able to talk to the individuals that are in the real estate market to be able to help me to navigate through those waters. But I've currently commissioned Graham and Company to be able to put that online database together. Not only will that help me to know where we have property in the city, but also people will just be able to go to the website and look it up. A lot of times developers don't want to talk to you initially anyway. They want to be able to go find the information, see if it fits what they're looking for, and then the next step is for them to be able to have that conversation with you. So we do have that on the way. And then I can take the last two, 21 and 22, and a few months ago, we had a resolution with Gonzalez Strength as well as Clarity, which is a company that deals with branding. And we are currently working on the brand for the city of Irondale. I was sharing with him at the luncheon last week when I was talking to him in Public Works. I said, in Public Works, I think we got about 6 logos out there, and it's depending on what vehicle you look at to let you know if it's an Irondale vehicle. I think we got a train on one, we got the I-beam on another, we got words on one. So it's just a little bit of everything out there, but we're going to bring consistency to our brand. To the point that everybody's going to know what the city of Irondale stands for. We're going to have something similar to what we did with the master plan, so you will get a chance to be able to give some feedback and participate in it as well. So it won't just be the mayor and the staff deciding, this, but we're also going to include you in it as well. So I don't know if I did 22 and 22 and 22, but there is number 17. I won't be able to complete 17. If you want to put 18 over there as being uncompleted at that time, you can put it over there. Let me see, I'll go back. Number 5 and number 9. So it's number 5, number 9, number 17, and number 18. Anybody out there want to give me the percentage if you divide 18 by 22? I think it's around 80%. Okay, so we still have 2 months. We're 80% complete. 18 of those 22 items have been done. So, anybody have any questions that you want to ask about 22 and 22? Okay, Adrian. Yes, it include the whole city. Yeah, these will be wayfinding signs for the whole city. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Signage regulations.
Yes.
As far as business moves out, they're supposed to practically remove their sign. I think the time, will this ensure through penalties, for better terminology, that, people violate the sign regulations, that they will be told, hey, if you get something done, here it is, that, it's on the books, that you will be paying a fine.
It'll have more teeth to it. I can't say that it's going to have fines to it. I'll just say that it'll have more enforceability to be able to make people to comply and not to lead the city any kind of way that they want to be able to do it, because they wouldn't do that in their own community. So we want to make sure that people are responsible when they take down signs and all of that, that it's a new day in Iredell. You just can't do what you want to do anymore. Yes. I mean, Main Street is having their January the 18th. Main Street is having their kickoff for 2023. So we're going to go to that event. That's the mandatory event. So we'll go to the mandatory event, and then that'll begin us to allow us to be able to go ahead and do the application. I feel very confident that we will be a 2023 Main Street city. And also, I wanted to say a lot of these things too are ongoing. That's the other thing. When I began to think about what are we going to do in 23, a lot of these things don't stop just because the year moves to another place, like the revitalization of Crestwood Boulevard. That's going to be an ongoing process to be able to do that. Granson Mill Station, that's going to be something that's going on for a while. Paving roads, and these are just things that are going to be ongoing things. But now that we've done them, we know how to do them. We should do them well. We should get better every year when we begin to move to do some of the things. And one of the things that wasn't up there, but it is one of the items for 23, or it was in the master plan, but it wasn't a part of the 22. So if you all will allow me to replace this item with 17, I can still get to 100. You all should have some grace, because I heard so many people talk about we need a storm shelter in the city of Irondale. And I went to a meeting, and Commissioner Knight was there, and I walk in the door, and he said, "Mayor, how are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing great, Commissioner." He said, "How would you like to have a storm shelter?" I said, "Is it free?" He said, "Yes." We adopted the resolution in July to receive a free storm shelter from Jefferson County. It's going to be, what is it, Frank? Is it 10 by 60, or was it 10 by 120 or something? I know it will house 120 people, and it's going to be at the Senior Activity Center. It's going to be up there. So if you all would allow me to put that one in there, even though it wasn't there. But they're getting ready to adopt the resolution at the county. So we should be receiving that soon. So that's pretty cool. Okay. The vacant registration ordinance will cover that, because if a building is vacant, it has to be registered at the city, and they have to go through the process of that ordinance. So we'll now be able to keep up when those things become vacant, to put more enforcement on them to make sure that they keep it up. Just because they're not in it, they don't just let it become an eyesore. Mm-hmm. Frank gonna tell them to do everything you just said. And I know, Sonya, what you're talking about is Old Leeds Road, where they building the Publix, and there's so. Arlington, Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we will give that to Officer Lawley and have him to go up there and have a conversation with him. We've been getting better movement for people to do stuff when somebody shows up in a uniform. It's amazing when the police officer shows up with his badge and gun. People have been moving expeditiously to be able to clean up their stuff. So I'll share that with him Monday. Hopefully, he won't scare anybody up there. We have a heart attack and have to send a transporter up there, but we'll take care of it. Okay. So just want to cover a few highlights. Oh, okay. Are you married to me, Miss Roscoe? I was just talking about that the other night. So we are in process of putting a sign up there, something pretty cool that's called the 1801 building. That's the address for the building. And right there in the center where there's nothing there, we're going to put something there so people will know exactly that's the water building. So I appreciate you, Ms. Roscoe. I always messing with Ms. Roscoe. She came down here to spread some stuff, and then she went back home and came back, and I told her, you can't come back no more. But yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we're going to take care of that. So, all right. A few highlights that we've had. In March, we passed a referendum to be able to increase the taxes in the city of Irondale. That will not kick in until 2023, but it will bring somewhere between 1.6 additional dollars to the city in 23. So some of the things that we've been talking about that we want to do in the city, especially when you start talking about the master plan for the parks, it will allow us to be able to do that and not to be able to go into debt. Or we will have a revenue source to be able to pay as we go and to be able to finance some of it at the same time. We started in May wanting to be able to have a football team, and at the end of October, 2 of them ended up playing in the playoffs. I think it was 8U and 12U. Both of them lost their first round game, but whoever would have thought that we would have went from 0 teams to 4 teams and to have 2 teams to be able to play in the playoffs. Moon River opened on May the 5th. So now the city of Irondale has 2 access points on the Cahaba River. There's no other municipality that can say the same thing. Publix is Publix right about now. They're 6 months behind on construction. There was more bad soil that they expected that was going to be a part of what they needed to do to get the site ready. But I did pass by there today, and they were bringing in bricks to be able to build this very expensive retainer wall that they have to put up. But they're moving along. Like I said, they're about 6 months behind, but maybe they'll be opening at the end of 23 or at the first part of 24. If you go by there also, they now have a sign on the fence, leasing. I think they have about 12 additional spots that they would like to be a part of that. And I'll share it with them. What the city of Citizen would love to have here in the city is some new places to eat, some new sit-down restaurants that we don't have a lot anyway, but we do want to expand that. And Price is doing a great job with his development over there, the Heights, and he and I had a conversation this week, and he's also trying to find a couple of restaurants to come to the commercial part that he has as well. So people are really working very hard to bring some new restaurants, some new entities to the city for those spots, but it's going to take some time to do that. According to Ms. Roscoe, even though we got a new water department office, we don't have a sign on it. So we'll make sure we get a sign on that very soon. And also I want to thank Frank and Lee. They are here And in the middle of December, everybody should be getting their new trash can. Lee, do you want to run back there right quick? If you can bring me that recycling sign that was developed that's going to go out with the trash cans. But we're going to, or Frank is going to, Frank's going to bring you your trash can in the middle of December. So if you don't get your can, don't call the mayor's office. Call Frank, 205-951-1420. If you don't receive anything by the middle of December, one of the things is kind of funny because Frank is such a good guy, and I can always say, Frank, can you do this? He's like, Mayor, just tell me what I need to do. But this time we were talking about the trash cans, and he came and met with me the other day. And I said, Frank, we still gonna get those cans out in November? He said, well, I don't know, man. We got to put up Christmas lights. We got to do this. We got to do this, whatever. And I said, I guess I should have talked to you before I went ahead. And he said, yeah, every now and then, if you just share it with me. So after consulting with Frank, we're going to do it in December. And when you receive your new trash can in December, you're also going to receive a magnet going along with it to help you to understand what you can recycle and what you can't recycle. So we thought that if we would put it in big pictures, that and this really one, I'm trying to get to Sweden a couple of weeks ago. And when I'm having all the trouble I'm having trying to get to point A and point B, and I'm talking to Kim, and I said something about it, and she had already went and researched it, got with Emma, and got it to her, and they put it together. And when we did the message with the mayor, we talked about it. But she's a school teacher, and she likes big pictures. So, so I was telling her, I went out there one day, and my neighbor was recycling. But she had, or I hope they're not listening to this because I didn't tell them, but they know I'm talking about them now. But they had put their recycling in a blue bag. And the guys on the back of the truck was getting ready to put the blue bag in the garbage truck. And I said, well, no, you can't do that. They said, well, I thought it was just bags. I said, no, it's any kind of bags, not even the recycling bags you should put in there. And we dumped that in the back of the truck. So with your new 64-gallon trash can, you will also receive this to tell you exactly how you're going to how you need to recycle. And we're also, I hadn't told Frank this yet, but we're also going to Frank, you should stay at home tonight. But we're also going to apply for some other grants at ADEM, because really you can't be successful in your recycling unless you continue to educate your people about it. So we're not going to just give you the magnet one time and expect for you to know what you're going to do. But every month we're going to have something that talks about recycling. We're going to really get into education, the education side of recycling. So Frank and Lee, you all now know you got to write another grant, and you all also can decide who's going to the workshop on November 16th. Well, okay. You already signed up, Frank. So okay, and so that's what we're going to do there with recycling, and also Frank and I are going down on November 21st. We're going down to the recycling center because I was talking to Frank the other day. I said, I just can't understand why our contamination rate keeps going up. I've been to a recycling center, so I know they dump it, is on a conveyor belt. They usually have individuals up there and they pick through it. I said, but once they dump it, how do they know it comes from Irondale versus another municipality? So Frank and I are going down there on the 21st to be able to get some answers from why our contamination rate keeps going up, and you can't even differentiate between if it's our stuff or if it's somebody else's stuff. And let's see. So that's it for that. And this is just to get into, I won't get into a lot of it, but if you all have some questions about it, the city has purchased a lot of property over the last 4 months. We have the Zamora, which is now called the Irondale Civic Center. We don't plan on keeping it, but I just got tired of people still calling it Zamora when it belongs to the city. The whole property is a fabulous piece of property. The city was able to purchase that for $1 million from the Hope family. She didn't want to sell it to anybody but the city, so we ended up purchasing that around June. The hospital property, which Trinity was going to go there, but they decided not to go there. They did not exercise their option, so the city ended up purchasing those 160 acres. The library property, which is right across the street from, well, it's next door to the new dentist office. And we're currently doing our due diligence on that property because of issues in the past that were there. But I have seen a rendering of what the proposed new library will look like. And I've also seen how it would be positioned on the property where it doesn't encroach on the lake that used to be there. But we're still doing some additional geotech. They're still working through some other things to be able to figure that out. And then we also got the 10 acres across from JCA. It was $281,000. That we spent for that piece of property. There's also 12 acres that we purchased with the health department and the county that's across the street from Church of the Highlands. 12 acres, but these 12 acres now allow 188 acres to be consolidated. So we have the opportunity to have trails on 200 acres on the Cahaba, right across the street from Church of the Highlands. Also, Frank, once we get all this land and all this other stuff, we're probably gonna have to hire some more employees to be able to do maintenance down there, because we have an awesome volunteer that handles the Cahaba for us, Miss Jenny Brown. But I don't know if Jenny want to be dealing with them 200 acres that we're getting ready to have down there as well. But those are just some of the land purchases that we have here at the city. If you want to ask the question, why is the city just, purchasing land? And the reason that the alarm clock went off in my head, because it was one real estate deal that we were working on, and everybody knows about that real estate deal that was next door to Mercedes, and it didn't materialize. And the reason it didn't materialize, because when you don't control the land, you don't control the conversation. And I said that I will never sit at the table again and try to negotiate something and never have the leverage to be able to determine the destiny of the city of Irondale, because we don't own the land. So going forward, as long as I'm here, if it's something that fits within Blueprint Irondale, the master plan for the parks, then my recommendation to the council is that we move on it and try to control as much as we can, because at the end of the day, the Lord's not making any more land. Community events. I did not realize, and I should get some bonus points for this to go towards the 22 and 22, because when I looked at what Emma had put together, this is approximately 28 events that had nothing to do with 22 and 22. So not only did we do 22 and 22, we also did these other 28 events and on top of that. So within 10 months, we've done over 50 or at least 28 events and accomplished 18 out of the 22 items on 22 out of 22. So I'm just saying we need to get a hand for that. Because some of these things on here, double up. We had 2 classes of Citizen Engagement Institute. The last class was the largest class that we have ever had to be able to do that. I may have done 2 or 3 coffee with the mayors. We had the community shredded day. And I thought that I was just going to come down here and just joke with everybody. And I end up getting stuff out of cars for an hour and a half on Saturday. I was so tired I had to go home and Kim and I was going to Talladega to go to a basketball game. I had to go home and be able to rest and take a shower to be able to do that. But Trash Amnesty Week, I want to say we did a couple of those. And this time I did consult with Frank. So in 2023, we're going to do Trash Amnesty Weeks in April and September. So you got 2 periods there that will pick up anything that you put out there during those times. So on Saturday, we're having a community prayer walk. This will be our second prayer walk for the year. So if you're not doing anything at 9 o'clock in the morning and you want to come and pray favor over the city, meet us at the flagpole, and that's where we will be before we walk a mile through the city, just praying that the Lord continue to provide a hedge of protection, a place of refuge. But most of all, I just want the Lord to keep giving the city favor, because as long as he's giving us favor, then I can move out of the way and just allow him to be able to do what he do. The Christmas parade is on December the 3rd, so if you'd like to participate and walk in that, we'll finish it up with a tree lighting ceremony here at the city of Irondale. And I was just trying to think of, but you see it, it's there. No, I was trying to find another event to talk about. Oh, it's right there. First one up there. So, yeah, so we've been able to do about 50 some odd things around here. So I guess you could say every week we were working, doing something here at the city. It only can happen because of the fantastic leaders that are here, Frank and Lee, and all of the other department heads. They make my job easy. I just show up and try to be able to give them guidance, but most of all, I just want to be able to stay out of their way. And the final thing, I think this is the final thing. Is this the final thing, Emma? Did I do a Baptist close? Because I don't want to close. I don't want to land an airplane but once. But anyway, employee empowerment. We have some of our employees in the city of Irondale are probably the best paid employees in Jefferson County. And 2 years ago, it wasn't that way. But they received a 14% increase for public safety, 9% for classified employees. We have all type of equipment here in the city. You can see the green garbage truck that we have there in Public Works. You can also see that the guys in Public Works, they all have the same uniform. I got tired of coming to work every day. They out there cutting grass. Somebody stuff in the back pocket. Somebody got on an orange shirt. Somebody got on a blue shirt. And I said, Frank, we're going to get some uniforms. So they have uniforms. They also have the jackets. And I don't think they have the hats yet, Frank. But we'll get them the hats. But they are all now, they all look the same when you see them out there. And the reason that I told them that, I said, hey, Public Works don't get the credit that it should receive because it's not the sexy department. The sexy department is the police department and the fire department. Everybody loves the police and the fire department. But as Frank pointed out to me, that when we have a natural disaster, if he doesn't go in and do his job first, they can't go in and do their job. So Public Works is really the backbone of the city. They're the ones that make everything work in the city. It's like I told them, citizens see you more than they see me. And when they see you, you're representing to them what the city looks like on the inside. So if you look bad on the outside, they think the rest of the city is the same way. But we made a big investment to make sure that they have new uniforms, and everybody now has their own personal training plan. So I made everybody go to classes this year. So they all have to put together their training schedule. They weren't real happy when I told them that they were going to have to do that. But as a leader, you never learn too much. You constantly need to be working at your craft. So now everybody has training opportunities. We're going to work on putting together a personal development plan for all of them. And we're just trying to do the best we can with what we got. And that's it. Anybody, any questions? Yes. So we have any questions? Kim over there doing that. Well, I'm not gonna prolong it. I'm not. Frank got a question. So I'm not gonna prolong it because hey, it's 7:37. You all getting out 22 minutes quicker than you wanted to get out. But also, I didn't get a chance to talk about financially where we are as a city. But our unaudited financial statements show that we have a $6 million surplus for FY22. And we project a $3.5 million surplus for 23. This year was the largest amount of money that has ever come into the city of Irondale. Even if you take out the ARPA money, we still brought in about $28.5 million. So I want to let you know that everything is going well. Yes, we do. We spend money because I believe that they have to have the best to be able to do their job. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to continue to be able to make sure that I can make those recommendations to the council. And I want to thank the council as well, because we couldn't do what we do if they didn't pass and adopt all the things that we bring to them. So I want to thank them for the job that they've done as well. This concludes our presentation for the night. I hope that there's something that you've been able to glean from this presentation. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to talk about after tonight, my phone number is 205-951-1413. That's not my cell phone number. That's my office number right there. But again, like I said, thank you all. And we're just going to keep working to move the city forward. The way that I always close a message with the mayor, I just want to let you all know that I love the city of Irondale, but I love you too. May you all have a good night.